Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Robin and Laura. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing fabulous. I'm so excited for today's conversation and welcome folks who are quickly joining in. We are going to dive into the secrets of the success mindset with Robin Ward. Robin Ward is CEO of boutique leadership development company, Founder Forward, based in Los Angeles. Having spent 20 plus years working alongside founders and executives in the fast-paced technology startup space, Robin developed an expertise in the science and psychology of high-performing leaders, teams, and cultures. Ms. Ward is a sought-after speaker on these topics and also co-teaches a performance mindset for business class at USC's Marshall School of Business. Thank you so much, Robin, for being here. And leading today's conversation is the magnificent Laura Brounstein, who's the VP of Content and Programming here at the Riveter. Friendly reminder, we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what resonates, any questions. We're going to be asking you questions, so please put all of your answers in the chat box and make sure to send to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to you, Laura, to kick off today's conversation.
Thank you, Mad. Robin, how fucking psyched are we this morning?
It's a good day to be an ambitious woman. Woo-hoo-hoo!
Kamala. Hell yes.
Oh, yes. Hell yes. Hit us up in the chat. Who had a hard time sleeping last night because they were so fired up?
I mean, I think I was tweeting to you half the night last night. I was just like, it was so nice though to not be able to sleep because I was excited about something.
Right.
Not because I was, despairing at the world.
Well, as you know, I have a newborn. So either I'm despairing or I'm newborning. And now I get to celebrate the amazing Kamala Harris and a glowing for all women and particularly women, people of color.
Okay, sorry everyone that my phone just rang. Somebody else excited. All right, everybody throw in, if you would, where your name, where you're joining us from. I'm so happy you all are joining for basically what I'm considering my personal career coaching session with Robin Ward. It's nice that we're just, it's nice that you're all here too. But
thanks for joining.
I have been lucky enough to know Robin for 5 years or so. And I met her, we have a mutual friend, the inimitable Shelley Zalis, the force of nature, who started the Female Quotient. And I met Robin in that context. And in a pack of super powerful women, Robin was like the person I beelined for and was like, hi, you know things, tell me them. So now I'm so excited to get her to tell all of us these things. You were in VC when we first met. And now you have your own business, Founder Forward. Founders, startup CEOs pay zonks to have you coach them and figure out how to move their dreams forward. Or at least that's my impression. Tell me how you went from VC to what you're doing now.
Yes, absolutely. Should we also say that when we first met in person, we were in Switzerland?
Yes,
because we were at the World Economic Forum. So my whole career has been in the high growth technology startup space. And so I was an operator for a long time. You met me when I went to the check writing side, and I went to the check writing side mostly because I knew there weren't enough women writing checks when I had the opportunity. And I thought, why don't I hop over here and be an ambitious woman in the check writing space.
Yes. Wait, somebody I think just joined our Zoom.
Oh, this is Kate. She works with me.
Hi, Kate. You can turn off your video for the conversation.
Oh, yes, there she goes. I was like, I'm not sure what's happening. This is exciting.
But it was good to see your face. It's not that we didn't want to see your face.
And so really, over the course of 20 something years within this same ecosystem, I've worked directly and indirectly with hundreds of founders and leaders. And I became fascinated, probably the best word is obsessed, with the mindset, habit, practices of what sets somebody up for success in the roller coaster, high uncertainty startup space. And then what are some of the things that hold others back? And so I started this company, Founder Forward, because I'm hugely passionate about taking the observations and the learnings, wrapping them with tools and frameworks, and helping founders and their startups reach their full potential. So that's kind of where the business is today.
So not just talking about things, doing things, making them happen.
I'm all about tangible tips and tools. Startup people tend to be type A people, and they got a lot going on. So we have to like dig in and do some work and get rolling.
So one of the things I'm curious about, you have men and women as clients, right?
I do.
Do you see a difference inherently in how they approach leadership and achieving goals?
I actually do. And I am very reticent to simply divide and stereotype. Yeah. But to answer the question, I've worked with men and women, and some of the work tends to differentiate by gender. And I will say that, emotional intelligence is something that women tend to be a little bit stronger on. And that's probably due to socialization. Men are told not to cry and not to show their feelings. Now we're in a world where everybody's working from home, anxieties are high. In addition to being the, chief executive, you have to be the chief therapist sometimes. And women seem to fall into that role as nurturers and caregivers a little more naturally than men. Now, I do have some men that are amazing at this. So again, I really try not to, overgeneralize, but that is one example. And, this place where we're at in terms of leadership, because we talked about Kamala, both of countries and of companies, we're moving at a time where empathetic leaders and leaders that are good at listening and have strong communication skills and have a high EQ are going to be best suited. And a lot of those traits are traits that I'm seeing in a lot of the female founders I work with. And we're seeing it from the leader of New Zealand, right?
Took it right out. Yeah. I mean, all those articles that the countries that are doing better are led by women because they asked questions and listened to the answers.
There you go.
I mean, all right. So I'm going to ask you some more questions and listen to some more answers. What are there kind of like buckets where you think of what these successful traits are for leadership?
There are. It's interesting because a lot of people come to me for coaching on how to work with their VP of sales or how to build their culture or how to communicate with others. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. Brene Brown tells us who you are is how you lead. All that is great. And we can get to that work, but we got to start with you. And so the really great top performers, high performing, most successful folks are great at self-leadership, right? And so what we've done at Founder Forward is we've developed a model around this and programming, and we call it best self-leadership. And there's 4 key buckets. There's self-care, there's self-awareness.
Wait,
right?
what's the first one?
Self-care.
Self-care.
Okay. Right? If we're not focused on our wellness, we're not going to show up and be our best every day. So self-care is an essential for everything in life.
Yep.
Self-awareness, know thyself. This is really where the Brene Brown, who you are is how you lead quote comes in. Management. I got 2 buckets for management.
Okay.
Time, attention, and energy is one.
Time, attention, and energy.
And the second one is mindset and emotion. So those are management.
Can you break those 2 down?
Yep. And the last one is growth. Like really focusing on having a growth mindset, know where you need to grow to take your company to where your company needs to grow, and actually having goals and priorities around getting there. So, care, awareness, management, growth. Those are
care, awareness, management, growth. Amazing. I'm fascinated by those 2, the 2 different areas of management. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So the reason why care and time, attention, and energy come first before mindset and emotion is that we all know when we're running around, not taking care of ourselves, on autopilot, not prioritizing well, chicken with head cut off, then our mind and our emotions are really hard to manage and they're everywhere. Okay. So those are the 2 first components before you get to mindset and management, but it's also important.
Start here before you are going to be successful putting it out there.
Yeah. But also with time, attention, and energy, a lot of people a lot of people in my space, the tech space, are growth hackers and like productivity hackers. And they're just focused on time.
Okay.
If you show up to a meeting and you don't have the energy to be in that meeting, then you're not showing up as your best asset to that meeting. So it all comes together. You shouldn't separate managing your energy and your wellness from how you present yourself and calendar your day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So you're taking into consideration where you are as you create your go forward plan for each day.
Yeah, Bezos says this really well, shockingly, maybe to some people, because, you know, Amazon sometimes gets a bad rap, but he talks about work-life harmonization. And it's like, it doesn't matter if he made it home for dinner if he's not present and he's thinking about a project. Just like it doesn't matter if you show up for the big product roadmap meeting and you stayed up working on something that wasn't a priority, so you're not fully at your most optimum peak. So you can't think about time without thinking about attention, presence, and actual energy that you're bringing to the table. And so many people separate them, and what we do is we put them together.
That's so smart. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes so much sense. How have things shifted for you since March? Like, what are people asking? How have you shifted kind of what you're offering and what people need?
Well, one of the things is what led us to reconnect is, you know, again, what we do at Founder Forward, we're very focused on the niche of startup land. By definition, the niche of startup land, 9 in 10 businesses fail. It's very, very uncertain, heavy, you know, uncertainty. Well, 2020 is a time of great uncertainty. So like, raise your hand or hit us up in the chat. Anybody feeling really uncertain in 2020, right? So I'm always talking about founders. How do you look at the current sort of pain or challenge where it's the growth and opportunity? And I just looked at it and said, I think all of this work that we do, helping these founders become top performers, applies to everybody.
Yep.
Everybody should be a best self leader, right? Yep. So what if you don't have the title of leadership at your company? Leadership is not a title or a position, it's a practice. You want to be the best leader of your family, the best leader of your community, the best leader of your church. You need to be the best leader of yourself.
Leadership is a practice.
Yes, not a position.
Good.
Yes. So we've taken all of this work and created something that, Laura, you actually coined this. You University is what you said to me. I was calling it Best Self Leadership. That's what it is, but it's You University. So we developed a program where we're going to run through care, awareness, management, and growth. Set up a plan to move forward to be your best self, dealing with the new world. By the way, the only constant in this new normal is change.
Yeah.
Most of us aren't great with change, right? The new world is VUCA. I don't know if everybody knows VUCA. Hit me up in the chat. VUCA is an MBA term. VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous.
Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous.
It is.
Will you put that in there? That's so good.
So in the VUCA world, we need to reset. We need to recalibrate. We need to figure out what are the tools we need for the next thing. Hit me up in the chat if you have read Untamed by Glennon Doyle or Becoming by Michelle Obama. Okay?
I would imagine a lot of people.
I'm going to go with, it's going to be a lot of the Riveter folks, right?
Yeah.
Both of those books talk about becoming. Michelle actually titled her book Becoming. This is what we're talking about. We're constantly becoming. So now is the opportunity to look at yourself and think about how do you become the next version that deals with the new reality of the world. That's what You University is about.
I want to go back to the first thing you said. And again, this is tapping into the Brene. How do you know if you are tapping into your true self for your work? Like, how do you know that you're kind of focusing on bringing the important parts of yourself into your work and into your leadership?
Awesome question. So first of all, one of the tools that I suggest folks do is I think everybody should have a mission statement, right?
Personal mission statement.
Personal mission statement. I say this to all my founders. They all have a mission statement, a vision statement, and core values for their company. And if I ask them for themselves, they all look at me cross-eyed. Like, you look at yourself, think of yourself as Laura Brounstein, Inc., right? What is your mission and vision You know, what are your core values? So these are all kind of parts of the exercises of getting to know yourself and
So
really
good.
understanding. In addition, for
Mhm.
those that are leaders in companies, managers in companies, leaders and managers in the new version of good leadership and good management are great coaches, and they're great at growing and developing their people. And this is the type of stuff that you want to build into your company. You want to be helping people explore their purpose. You want to know their purpose so you can help tie it to their job and tie it to the bigger mission of the company. You will get greater results that way.
I will say, and you know, Madeline has been on my team, so she may or may not agree. I have such an easier time doing it for other people than I do for myself.
You know, I
Like,
think that's true for a lot of people. It makes total sense. Unless we slow down and do the work ourselves,
yeah, let's do the work.
you know, it also becomes a lot more authentic that way. A lot of times people can tell when you're giving them all these tools, but you haven't really done the work yourself, right? There's no better way to truly like walk the walk than doing the work. And a lot of us, you know, we're really busy. We don't prioritize the work. And I would say that the world slowed down a little bit. If we're trying to find the pockets here, slow down. Give yourself the gift of checking in, building or re-editing your toolbox, figuring out like what are your gaps and what are your strengths. What's your goal for 12 months? What's your goal for 5 years? This is the time to kind of reset, but like it's a gift to yourself because most of us don't give ourselves the time,
No,
particularly if you have kids or pets.
I have a kitten baby that,
Yes.
you
And
know, takes up a lot of time.
there's Joni. Joni and I have co-created her mission statement, her vision statement, right? Core values. We've done it all. I had to do mine first. I like to drink my own Kool-Aid. Oh,
I
she's
like
barking.
things. Yeah. How do you sort of give yourself permission to go as think big? Like, how do you, when you start to say, like, I was having a career conversation with one of my best friends this morning. We're both at a potential crossroads, and I was like, I think I want to head towards this, but I feel silly even saying it out loud to you. Like, how do you quiet that thing that tells you don't go that big?
Okay, I'm gonna unmute and we're gonna know that my dog's barking because she heard me say her name and potentially she's wanting to let everyone know what her core values are.
Everyone's here for that.
Okay, good. I mean, she's a great person. I mean, per person. Okay, well, I think let's talk about this first of all. Just in the context of self-talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what often happens and gets in the way of a confident mindset, which is part of sort of the success mindset formula, is, you know, a lot of people think that confidence comes from experience and or practice. Those are components, but actually the biggest impact on a confident mindset is our self-talk.
Yeah.
So everybody should really be thinking about the story that they're telling themselves in relation to what their goals are. Because I do know that we had a lot of people joining that were looking for jobs or looking for promotions or not really happy where they're at. And the story you're telling yourself is going to impact your results, right? So if you're telling yourself, and it's usually fear-based, right? It's a fear-based. I can't go that big. Who am I to do that, right? There are so many other people that are overqualified. Basically, you're playing a false movie out because you haven't gone for it and you're telling yourself that it's not gonna come to fruition, right? So there's some tools we'll talk about, but ultimately, you know, just really digging in and doing the work and thinking about where your zone of genius is, which is, you know, referencing another tool, but
Zone of genius.
yeah, it's like, what are your real superpowers? What are the things that you love doing? Not just that people told you were good at, but that bring you flow and bring you joy. And then how can you lean into those to achieve a goal, right? But
Yeah.
you know, what it basically comes down to is a lot of people are talking themselves out of wanting the things they want. And it can be literally as simple as, I release self-doubt. I commit to staying in the game no matter how hard it gets. I'm going to go with Glennon Doyle again because I might have a little bit of an obsession. But if you've read Untamed, she's constantly talking about how we can do hard things. So maybe when you're starting to have that inner critic, you catch yourself and you just say, I can do hard things. This sounds woo-woo. It's not. This is all science. Our brain, the research is amazing, right? Our brain has tons of plasticity. We are rewiring. So instead of going to the negative thought, you want to move from an inner critic to an inner champion, right?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. So a lot of us live in I see inner critic land, and you need to become an inner champion. Here's the deal. Why be your own worst enemy? You need to be your own best friend. There's a lot of people out there in the world that want to get in your way. Don't be that for yourself, right? I work with a lot of people, and I'm like, ultimately, can I make an observation? I think that the biggest obstacle that you're facing right now is yourself, which is why we've developed a program that helps you get out of your own way.
All right, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in a minute. Because I love kind of the data and science, how you kind of, this isn't just sort of like fly by night ideas. You're like, this is what actually works.
Well, I work with a lot of engineers and product people. And so whilst I am a big fan of a gratitude practice because Oprah told me to do it 10 years ago, there's actually 11,000 plus studies that tell you that gratitude is directly linked to optimism. And in a world of uncertainty, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, if you practice gratitude, you will sleep better, be less stressed, be more positive and more optimistic, and be more creative and productive. Can I see anyone in the chat that doesn't want to be any of those things? We all need more sleep. We all want to be more positive and optimistic. So it's like, okay, that's data, right? So whether you want to go with Oprah, you want to go with the data, like the lowest hanging fruit that you can do for yourself right now is put a journal next to your bed and write down 3 things you were grateful for. If you do it consistently, by the way, give us the chat. Who has a gratitude practice? Let's go. Hit me up in the chat.
Anybody?
Me. Now, here's where I'm going to call some of you people out because I'm a real talker. I mean, I mean a consistent practice. I don't mean sometimes.
Do you do it consistently?
Oh yeah, because I know how it's medicine. Every night. There you go. I'm hearing it. Good. Everybody's got their toolkit. Also, I love seeing names I know. Hi, Ashley Crowder. Hi, Lindsay Campmeyer. You know, literally, sometimes people will say, what's the one thing that I can do that will have the most impact for me right now? Because I'm really struggling in the pandemic, plus 20 million other things that worry me about the world. A gratitude practice is one of the lowest hanging fruit that takes 5 minutes.
So would you say gratitude is the first step on the path to optimism?
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'll also tell you this.
Yeah.
Optimism is at the core of mental toughness.
Really? See, I've heard like, but reasoned optimism, right? Like I've heard, like, if you're like, this will all be over and we'll all be back out, I'm optimistic, everything will be okay in 3 months. And then
let's call it grounded optimism.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, you know, you have to stay in a reality zone, but you know, optimism is a confidence and a hopefulness that over the long term, everything will be all right. That's sort of the definition. That doesn't mean ignore it like nothing's wrong or be super light about it. It just means that, you know, over the long term, I'm going to remain hopeful and I have confidence. And also then you play a part in achieving, you know, the better outcome. So I think that, you know, the word grounded is important because you see a lot of people that might be airy-fairy about it and then aren't seeing the realistic approach. But optimism really at the core of mental toughness. That's how you get back up off the ground. It impacts resilience. It impacts grit, right?
Grit. That's a good book too.
Angela Duckworth actually did a guest appearance on my USC class.
Really? That is everybody. That's a good one if you haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah.
Grit.
It's an amazing book. I'll tell you what she says in that book. Grit is not something you're born with. Part of grit and part of having a gritty organization is having clear goals because people need to be motivated. So when we get to the last part of sort of the self-growth, that's where you tie the goals in that allow you to get gritty. And if you have your goals, you're more likely to remain optimistic because you actually have clearly laid out what you're achieving, right? This is what the funny part.
You can visualize where you're driving. You can see the sign. So you can like keep going. It's like
all of these things tie into each other.
Yeah.
And that is exactly it. Yeah.
Right, let's get into, you brought some visual. Let's get into a little bit more of some of the tools
Yeah.
that we are going to gift people with today.
Okay. Well, one of the tools we'll just talk about while we're on optimism, or just sort of the awareness of like how we're thinking and where our mindset is at. I will say, like, overall, people wildly underestimate the role that psychology plays in business and in life, right? So back to common components of great leaders, not only do they manage their own psychology, but they're very intuitive. This is emotional intelligence of understanding the psychology of the other person or group of people that are in the room. So psychology is very important. The thing is that because we're all moving so quick, sometimes we're stuck or we're in a rut and we don't realize it. So one tool is something I've seen people write in the chat, which is you can really journal and answer questions like, what am I telling myself about the pandemic? What am I telling myself about this job opportunity? What am I telling myself about my finances right now? What am I telling myself about the future of the world? That's great. That's heavy for some people. So I'm going to give you a modern, lightweight tool, and I even have a prop, which is my phone. I like people to know their NPR, and their NPR is not the National Public Radio. It's your negative.
Know your NPR channel number 2. But go
right.
on.
We do love NPR. But we're talking about negativity to positivity, right? Ooh. So over the next 2 weeks, send yourself a text at the end of the day. It can be the same chain, and pick the emoji for how you were most thinking or feeling that day, right? You can have the red emoji for angry. Maybe it's those teeth for, anxious or stressed.
I do a lot of this one, the girl just being like, oh.
Right. I do a lot of the one that's the head blown red, but then you can start saying an F word. Anybody that knows me knows I have a little bit of a sailor mouth. So anyway, people are often mind blown at the end of 2 weeks when they look at on par, were they sort of happy or good headspace versus negative. And awareness is literally the first step to anything, which is why it's sort of a care and then awareness. But in terms of leadership, you really have to understand where you are right now and then understand more about who you are. But you can't make any shifts if you're not aware. So I would give yourself this exercise that's sort of a really hip millennial way to do a quick journal and a check-in. Because even though I'm not a millennial, I like to play one on Zoom.
We look like millennials, though.
I know. Did anybody write that really quickly? Oh, but Laura and Robin were totally millennials. Okay, so you wanted me to show you a graphic around, I think that we said again, some people
I want to throw in there, Tara Phillips has an app that she uses that does this. That's cool, called Stoic. That every day asks you, a mindfulness app that tells you to use an emoji for how you feel, and tracks it.
I love it. People are productizing.
Yeah,
Cool.
Tara, hopefully I said your name right, but that's cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we play millennials on TV, on Zoom, Smarta.
Right? I did like that. Okay, so let's talk about a tool. I'm going to call, it's hit me up in the chat. Have people heard of the term UVP? Stands for unique value proposition. So in business, maybe you just heard what's your value prop.
Yep, and MVP.
Yeah, okay. So in the tech world, we use the U in front of it a lot, which is just like, why is your product different from all these other products? Why is somebody going to buy it? For me, like as an investor, like why should I fund you instead of the next company, right? What's your UVP? So we've created this concept that is called UVP, but it's YOU.
Ooh.
Let's
Ooh.
woohoo, right? See how that works? Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is going to sound pretty basic, but I like tangible and practical things. So this is basically the core of what a unique value proposition is. Okay, so you need to identify your strengths. This comes back to self-awareness. This is part of the awareness exercises. So a lot of people get a little shy. I would say women also get a little shy about tooting their own horn, and this is to not do that in this exercise. think about when people have told you you're really great at something, and think about when you feel really great at something. But there are other tools that you can use. For instance, if you've heard of Gallup, they do a lot of workplace research. They have an expensive, longer survey, but they also have a $20 Gallup top 5. It's really great. You may not agree with all of them, but they have really amazing verbiage around what the strengths are that are really good, particularly to use in the hiring process. You want to know your strengths and your superpowers, which is a word I used before. It's not just what you're good at, it's what you're good at but you really love. It's what you're excellent at and what brings you flow. So if you don't know your superpowers, you also want to sort of sit down and engage in the discovery of what are those things? What is my flow state? One last way to do this, which I think is really fun, and I hesitated to do it, and then I did it and I really enjoyed it. I sent an email. You could do it via whatever social you're on. It might be a little weird to get it in your DMs, but ask 3 to 5 people from, a friend, a boss, a sort of somebody you've worked with that's more in a peer group, maybe somebody that's worked for you, people that know you from different aspects of your life. Send them a note and say, hey, I'm wondering if you could quickly send me bullets on, 3 traits or unique abilities that you think best define me or that you appreciate most about me.
That's so hard to do.
To send it?
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I did it once and I felt really weird, and every single person responded almost immediately and said that was really fun to do, and it kind of brought us closer because it was really neat to see what popped up.
That's a cool thing.
It is, sorry.
What's right there telling you what is great about you?
There's no mute button in this. Hold on one second. In the presentation share.
Oh,
sorry.
Not a lot to say.
The good news is that means that I'm getting some kind of FedEx package.
Oh, okay, that is good.
Let's hope it's a good one. I was really hoping that wouldn't happen. All right, so I want to go back in here because this is an important tool. So I've given you a couple of different ways because, we're not always great at specifying or figuring out or thinking what our own strengths are, right? So the idea is make your own list, but maybe use Gallup, think about superpowers, maybe send it out to 3 to 5 others. So once you get super, super, super clear on what you're bringing to the table, right? Why you're really great for the want, then you want to go and get super, super clear about identifying the need or the problem of the role that somebody's hiring for, right? Of the company overall, of the situation. And then you want to connect the two. So you want to connect your value to the need or the problem, and then differentiate yourself as the best option. Here's what we do too much, particularly in interviews. We leave it to the interviewer to connect the dots on why our resume or why what we told them in the interview is great for the job. We need to take control of that. We need to connect the dots for them. Right?
Don't be passive, be pro, lean.
Yeah. And so,
say I am applying for a job as a project manager, which I'm not good at. No one should ever hire me for that. But say that I am good at that, and I'm on an interview for a project manager job, and I've identified that my superpowers line up for this because I love to organize. I love to create systems, make things work. How do I lean into that in the interview?
So let me get out of that. So first of all, it's a mutual interview, which a lot of people don't do because you want to be finding out as much about what the company needs are. But ideally, you've done your research, you're listening. Maybe at the end if they're a good interviewer, say, are there questions that I can answer for you? You can ask them questions so that you really understand what their biggest pain point is, right? Because,
pain point.
Right? So the whole name of the game is specificity to figure out what about you fits right with their pain point so that you're the best option, right?
Yeah.
So in your follow-up email, right?
Yep.
Then you can say, this was a great meeting. I really enjoyed meeting you. Here's what I heard were the core initiatives or the key pain points.
Play it back.
Play it back. I'm a good listener. And then you say, I just wanted to summarize the strengths and or superpowers that I have that I think make me uniquely qualified to get the role, to get the job, to get the thing done, whatever it is, right? People don't know that sentence, right? It's like in tech, they say, have your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in an elevator with an investor, so I call it a cocktail pitch, but
Never
in
been in an
world,
elevator.
you're not at a cocktail pitch, so I don't know what we're now calling it, but the point is, what is your UVP? It should be a statement, and you should know it. And it's not just for the job hiring. It's like, do I want a promotion? Okay, here's why I want the promote. Like, here's what the role that I want to get promoted in. Because I'm in the company, I understand what you guys are looking for. Here's my layout of why I'm a fit for that.
One to one it. Like, here are the needs. Here's how what I got is helping.
And then you connect, right? You connect it, because we leave so much to the chance of the person making the decision. And I'm saying, when you know your UVP, your 2 to 3 sentence statement, you're bringing it all together. You're putting the nail in the coffin. Bad reference.
You're yeah, but fair. I'm going to segue question for 1 second. We're hearing from a lot of women, and I sort of have had moments, and this might be one of them, of figuring this out too, of, do I want to build my own thing, or do I want to go help work for somebody and help them build their thing? Mm-hmm. Do you have frameworks for helping figure that out too? Like, is this a moment where I want to try projects and gigs, or where I want to like fit into a corporate structure?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's tools and exercises for, like, writing down what exactly you're looking for at this point. When it comes to starting your own thing, I would say that, I'm all about people starting their own thing. My whole entire passion in life has been around entrepreneurship, but that's an exercise of, do you have the idea that you want to sacrifice 7 to 10 years of your life for, right? I mean, you have to have a real why there.
Do some people come to you and be like, I want founder coaching, and you say like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, you should redirect your energies right now.
I haven't, but I mean, I get most of my clients from venture folks who've already invested in something. So it's not sort of that early. I will tell you this, when I'm looking with my investment hat on, one question I always ask is, why are you choosing to sacrifice so much for potentially 7 to 10 years of your life, which is a very long time, for this opportunity? That tells me a lot. I'm asking you your why. This goes back to everything. What is your why, your purpose of being that you're bringing into this job? But I'm big on why, right? You got to know your why. So sometimes people are making these decisions from their head. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go really quickly into a different tool. Holographic thinking. Think of it as a triangle. The top of the triangle is your head. The right side of the triangle is your heart, because that's right brain. The left side of the triangle is your gut. We have 3 intelligence centers. We think with our head, our heart, and gut. Right? So instead of just writing pros and cons, which often is, if you're more of a head thinker, then it's usually a lot of the head stuff. If you're more of emotions, a lot of emotions. Take notes on how your logic, and here's the logic in the data. Here's some of my feelings, and here's some of the gut impulses or instincts that I'm having. That's called holographic thinking. I recommend doing that for major decisions.
That's great. Heather's here agreeing how great that is.
Yeah. The other thing is keep a decision-making journal, right? In life, we make big decisions. So you should write this stuff down. Warren Buffett, who I have I have the world's biggest crush on, which might make me creepy. He has literally written down the background thinking for every trade he's ever made. he has hundreds and hundreds of journals, but his whole thing was, how would I ever know how to adjust or learn or grow if I don't have something to reflect upon, right?
Right.
So create a decision-making journal. I have gratitude journal, decision-making journal, but
like literally different journals, physical
journals.
journals.
I have a decision-making journal and I have a gratitude journal, totally different things.
And when do you do the decision journal? That's not a time of day ritual. That's a situational ritual.
That's when I've got, sort of a bigger decision and I'm not sure where to go. And when I'm ruminating in my head, I change my mind to this and that, kind of like, should I start my own thing or go join a thing? And so I have a girlfriend who I just gave this to, and she's got a time frame to which she's trying to decide on some things. And I said, listen, this isn't a one and done, like pros and cons list sometimes or whatever. It's like you have a couple of weeks, draw the framework, start writing the things down that are relevant now, but you add to it. And then when you go back, you really have all the things that you were hit with in your head, heart, and your gut to make a decision. The only way you're going to know if you made the wrong decision is if once that plays out, you kind of go back and you go, you know what, I kind of went with my head here and I didn't lean in here, and maybe I want to revisit that. You should also know self-awareness. You should know whether you're a person that leads with their head, their heart, or their gut, because it's just helpful to understand what drives your decision making. I tend to be head.
Yeah.
What do you think you are?
I think for work things, I'm head. And then for other decisions, heart. Like I think different areas of your life, probably.
Sometimes we lead in one way, and sometimes that leads us. Like I did work on wanting to bring more of my emotions into some of the decision-making work since I was so cerebral and logical.
Oh, interesting. All right, I want to
I'm trying to read.
There's so many good questions coming in, and one of them, which I think is really important right now, is that people are feeling shame at being at a crossroads career-wise right now because they got laid off, because their industry changed or went away, or they're realizing a certain lifestyle isn't going to work for them in this world. How do you work through that before? I feel like you need to work through the shame before you even get to all this good stuff.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. And that question has many layers. The first place I'm going to take you for that, and forgive me if all of you have already been there, but Brene Brown is obviously a shame researcher. Mm-hmm. So she has a new podcast, if you did not know that. And the last official episode before she did 2 AMAs was actually on shame. It was on shaming people in cancel culture, but it really did a great job of understanding what happens when we shame others and ourselves. Shaming is more I am bad, I am not enough. Guilt is something bad happened, but I'm separate from us, separate from it, okay? And so when you really feel that shame, it can be very destructive. Shame actually does have science ties into depression, anxiety, addiction, lots of other things, because again, you're identifying yourself with the thing instead of saying, hey, I did a bad thing, that you can kind of apologize and make an edit. It's really hard when you think you are the bad thing, right? So it's just very important to understand that.
Yeah.
And what it can do to us when you are coming from a place of, I am not worthy or I am bad. So a couple of exercises, but this one is a deep one. When I was talking about the self-talk, sometimes people call it ants, automatic negative thoughts. A friend of ours, Ariana Huffington, calls it your negative inner roommate, right?
Who are you listening to?
There you go. Exactly. So the thing with shame is folks call it your gremlin, because it's the worst of the lot of the really talking down to yourself and really feeling the shame. Okay. Yeah. So shame usually comes from somewhere, and it usually comes from sort of family of origin. And this is a deeper question and deeper coaching, if not therapy, which is to really uncover where the shame thoughts may come from. But there are more fun exercises, which is once you understand the underlying thing, shame, which is like, say, I'm not enough, you name it. So you name your gremlin. You don't name it. If you're getting it from your mom, you don't name it your mom's name. You want it to have like a different name.
Yep.
Listen, I'm vulnerable. My gremlin's name is Patty the perfectionist.
Oh.
I've named her when perfectionism, Brene Brown will tell you, is not a positive, although we like to think it is. It can be, but there's a lot of negative sides to it, which is we are never enough because we're trying to be perfect and there is no perfect. So I, depending on the day, catch myself and either tell Patty to F off, or I say, you know what, Patty, I love you. I know you're here to protect me, but I'm good. I got this. That's one exercise. Name your gremlin. Sometimes people draw their gremlin. Yeah, I have done that. I have an exercise of what Patty looks like. But another one is a racket and a reframe. So what is the opposite statement to whatever your shame feeling is? That is a reframe that will shift your mind from being negative to positive.
Okay.
Right?
So if you're saying like, why do I keep making such bad decisions?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you know, there's a whole load of things that you can say, but like when you keep shame, you often ruminate. Then you just make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what we want to do is catch us in the awareness and shift to some other viewpoint on it, right? Which is, you know, what happened yesterday doesn't dictate what happens tomorrow. So, you know, I commit to make better decisions. Whatever the self-talk is, you've got to turn it around, right? So one of the base exercises is open a spreadsheet, put racket, put reframe. Over 2 weeks, keep all of the shameful thoughts so that usually they all combine into one underlying gremlin. Like they all equate to like, I am not worthy because my dad said this here and I blah, 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 right? It doesn't matter if you can't figure out where you trace it back to, but it's really good to try. Then you create the positive reframe that you can tell yourself to each of those thoughts. Then you create the awareness, which is what mindfulness and breathing do. And then you literally rewire your brain by telling yourself the positive talk.
It's like the mental version of Amy Cuddy's power pose.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I call it the mental gym.
Yeah.
I say I give you tools for your toolbox, but what I've really done is I've given you a set of different exercise equipment to do your reps and be in the mental gym. It's called mental fitness. We as a society focus way more on physical fitness, and I'd like us to focus on mental fitness.
I love that. Another question, women sometimes have a hard time admitting that they want to make more money. Guys might too. I've just done less work in my career with guys on this. Women sometimes have a hard time saying, like, if you're like, what are you looking for in your next job? Or what does success look like for you? It's hard to be like, I want to make more money. Like, how do you break that?
So like much of this, the awareness piece is also an awareness of where it comes from. So, you know, Laura, you and I were talking about something else earlier. We're talking about socialization. So, you know, usually that's not just because women are like that. It's because society, for a long time, women didn't own the money. And a lot of time women didn't have the job, or they were told that this isn't the thing you take care of and the man takes care of it. Or men are supposed to be ambitious. I mean, this goes back to Kamala and all the talks that she wasn't going to get the job because she was too ambitious. Or, you know, ambition is a positive for a man and a negative for a woman. So in a lot of women's minds, we're trained to think that like ambition for women is not going to be looked upon in a positive light. This is one reason I'm so excited about Kamala doing this, is because if we can get ambitious women out there and men like Joe Biden to still hire ambitious women, maybe we start to change. But really the answer is you got to go back in your narrative and figure out like, why is that a problem for you? Right?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? How do I want to change that? If I'm being my true authentic self and I want to make more money and I want to buy a yacht, why can't I just come out and say that? I will say another component of that is FOPO, fear of other people's opinions. Which I've
heard FOPO before.
Yeah. So one of the guys I co-teach with, Mike Gervais, he uses this and I've just fallen in love with it. here's the gender thing, which I try to avoid a little bit, but women tend to have way more FOPO than men. Men don't give a shit what their 5 buddies think. Women are like, oh, I can't say this, I can't say that, blah, blah, blah. Again, it was socialization. So it's not, that there's not a reason, but we are going to need to get over FOPO if we want to succeed in the way we want to succeed.
We need to get over FOPO if we're going to succeed how we want to. Fuck yeah, that is good. That is worth the price of admission, which was free, even all on itself.
Bring in the value. Bring in the value of free.
Okay, Erica has a good question. If you're self-aware and your UVP is listening, synthesizing disparate information into an objective and using trust and influence to foster collaboration around the shared goal, is that synthesis valuable enough, or do you need to lean into the systems and the execution? What a great question.
That is amazing. I'm not actually seeing that same question, but I just want to click for the
Erica, yes.
Question. It was longer, so I wish I could see it. Listen, the synthesis is very important and gets you a strong stretch of the way, but the systems and the collaboration and all of those things are also very important.
It's in the Q&A box if you wanted to read it.
Oh, goodness. I'm looking in the chat. If you are self-aware. In this instance, I think, yes, it is enough. And you, although I don't want to speak for you, may have something in your mind that tells you it's not enough, right? Back to I am not enough, or I need this second piece.
The puppy agrees.
Yeah. Listening, synthesizing, and objective, using it to influence and foster collaboration, that's strong.
Yeah.
Don't take your thing and then think there needs to be more of a thing. That's really powerful. It's really succinct.
And people need to hire for that.
Yep.
Because people have a hard time listening.
Collaboration is also, while it seems easy, actually quite difficult. And it's one of the skills that the World Economic Forum actually says is one of the most important skills going forward. And you're basically, in a very strong and succinct way, saying that you are able to do these skills that allow for the fostering of collaboration. So very strong.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, I can just keep asking questions. Matt, are there any others from the group that we should be asking? Otherwise, I will just keep going.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions coming in. So again, friendly reminder, if you guys want to drop that in the chat box, please do so.
Robin, how much does the version of you put out there digitally affect your success at this point? If you're okay, this is my UVP and this is what I care about, should you be stating that clearly across all social media right now? How should that be playing into the amplification of your interests?
Well, first of all, yes, in some way, the core of you should be presented, because that's authenticity. Authenticity is the key to leadership, but living an authentic life is actually, again, tied science to living a healthier, happier life. It doesn't have to be in the same way, because every medium and platform has its own thing, and some are more playful and some are whatever. But I'm a big believer in it's just, if you had a brand person on here, they would tell you the same thing, which is there should be some consistency or core that I can see to a human. But I wouldn't be afraid to play with the platforms in the way that they do differentiate, right? I
always tell people, I gave a talk once to Team at Women's Health, and I was like, no one on Twitter cares a fuck about your workout. Yeah. Everyone on Instagram wants to know about your workout. And maybe I'm just not tied into fitness Twitter. Maybe fitness Twitter is huge. Sorry. But
and if you're on fitness Twitter, don't cancel us, because Laura said that.
Yeah.
I'm not into cancel culture, but Twitter is. Me and Brene, no cancel culture.
No, I highly recommend the daily podcast interview with Jack Dorsey from the other day.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I think I need to listen to it a second time. It was so good. Because rarely
do you get a big tech founder leader that authentic and real and raw. And I'll tell you what, there's a leader man with a great deal of EQ.
Yeah.
Right.
And the most interesting part, and this actually gets to a question, was when David Barbara said to Jack Dorsey, Twitter does not line up with your personality. How did that happen? Do you find successful founders, their brand lines up with who they are?
For the most part, yes.
So interesting.
Yeah, I do. Kat Markoff, who's a successful female funded founder in LA, who's got an amazing company, Ritual, deep alignment, right? Now, that can be dangerous. Not for Kat, because she's not necessarily a known person. It's just that I can see it, or people that know her. But there's danger in other brands, but you see that more in CPG, like Gwyneth Paltrow with Goop. Obviously, negative news also boosts that. But also, I should use Kylie Jenner. If there's a backlash against Kylie Jenner, that business is really damaged, right? So, that we're getting a little bit more into branding there. But at the end of the day, the culture that a company builds at the earliest stage is really like a mirror of the founder. And so the founder really needs to be cognizant of walking the talk and making sure, it's like kids watching parents. The employees are watching the leader.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Can you go over VUCA one more time? Everybody is like taken with it and just wants to like.
VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which is like, I now use, we are in a VUCA world, kids. Let's figure it out. And in a VUCA world, things are different. And so we need to really look inside ourselves and say, how am I showing up in this moment? How have I been dealing with this? And by the way, no shame. You need to give yourself grace and space. By the way, mantras are a form of self-talk. Every morning I write, I give myself grace and space, because these are weird and hard times. And if you repeat it in your mind, you get it. I'm a big fan of that. I'm also a new mom. Another mantra I use is I release control, and I embrace the messy beauty of mommyhood, because I have control freak tendencies, right? So I get up and write these in the morning, and it puts them in my psyche as the day rolls. So for some of you that are experiencing shame, it seems like self-compassion, which is one of the core mindsets. We didn't do this. There are 5 core mindsets that I see in leaders that deal with uncertainty well. Okay. Confidence, self-compassion, calm, optimism, and growth. So we talked about
confidence, self-compassion, optimism, and
calm, optimism, and growth. So back to the shame question.
Yeah.
Practice self-compassion.
That is hard.
It is hard.
Kathy Sharp-Ross wants you to be a guest on her virtual chat series. But everybody is now wanting, we're at the stop time. So Robin.
Hi, Kathy Sharp-Ross. I adore you. You have a book. My dog likes you too.
How do people get more Robin goodness?
Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a little shameless promoter, because my marketing gal will kill me if I don't. So we've got this great program, U University. It's probably rolling out in its first version in September. I do these all the time, and then I get to talk. Okay, so here's the deal. Founder Forward has an Insta. On Twitter, I'm at RM Ward, but we're going to be doing this U University Best Self Leadership Workshop series, which is 5 interactive workshops plus homework plus almost every tool that we talked about on this call. And if you're interested, you can sign up at my landing page at founderforward.com/sign-up. So there's
everybody should do that. Good for you, Robin. And we might try to grab a couple of the questions, and maybe you'll answer a couple more on Twitter.
Sure.
Coming out of this. Did everybody get that down? And we'll also
here, I'm going to put this up for you too. I like graphics. So the strongest muscle and your worst enemy is your mind. Train it well. Self-talk, gratitude, NPR, journal tracking. But you can do meditation, breath work, visualization, track your wins, exercise, develop a powerful morning routine. Figure out which of these you want to add and make a commitment.
This is so good. For everyone asking, we will have a recording of this up by when, Madeline?
in an hour.
We will tweet it out. As soon as the recording's up, we'll tweet it out from the Riveter handle, and Robin and I'll retweet that. And Robin, thank you so much for sharing this with this community. You have so much to teach. I can't believe how much we got into an hour. And I think
we're good at that. I mean, you and I could probably sit and talk for days.
Days. But like, people should sign up, because like this clearly wasn't enough. Robin,
sign up. This is what I love. This is my passion and my superpower. And I'm really excited about this new program and sharing it with a broader base than just tech founders.
Yes.
Incredible.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you to the Riveter for giving me the opportunity. Laura, Madeline.
Thank you guys
Amy.
so much.
Awesome.
And everyone, share this with your community, friends, and family. Once you get the link on the website, please share.
And check out Robin's website. Okay. Bye. And tomorrow, everybody, we're doing a great event with women helping to get women elected. And our friend Dax and Rosenzweig and their documentary Surge, we are going to show an exclusive 15-minute clip. So you'll cry. It'll be beautiful. Come.
Promise you, you'll cry. All right.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Joni.
Bye, everyone.